Hey, how do you feel about some high rarity cards, or maybe some foreign ones, or maybe be ahead of the game with others by preparing for future set releases with very quick shipping? Check out EJ Gaming and use code British5 on checkout for 5% off on all your orders. Link in the description.
Greetings, duelists, and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Alert. This is going to be a series that I'm going to be starting. Basically, I'm going to making a PSA talking about stuff that you should be considering for the next following formats. Right now, we're in a format where you have to pay very close attention to the meta contending top deck. However, I feel like very soon after this format, we're going to be seeing a lot more trends that are going to be just as powerful, if not as powerful as the current strategies that we have at the moment. And if you're not careful and you don't think about them often enough, you might just not be prepared and just end up losing to those strategies. Uh, so for this episode, I kind of want to talk about Bystials and Diddy Crow. If you've been paying attention to this channel, or if you're already known to my content in this channel, you probably already know that I have been playing Bystials and I have been playing Diddy Crow in my main deck for the past month or so. And for those who are newer to this channel and they're just tuning in, I'm going to give a small synopsis to why I've been playing these cards in the first place, and then I'm going to be talking about how do these cards are going to fare in the future. But without further ado, let's begin. So if you stare at the screen, you're seeing that on the opposing side of the board, you see Voiceless Voice. Voiceless Voice is a very strong strategy that is being a meta contender in this current format. It is very much the next best strategy outside of Snake Eye decks. And that has prompted people to actually start respecting it, because this deck can actually win enough duels on its own if they are playing under a simplified game state. We're in a format where a lot of people are throwing hand traps and are throwing a lot of non-engine caution cards in order to defeat the Snake Eye strategy, as well as try to compete with other strategies as well. And that is a huge advantage for Voiceless Voice, because it kind of makes them like be able to play around certain cards. Hand traps are not really strong against that strategy, and that pretty much has prompted for Bystials and Crow in the main deck. Post Legacy of Destruction, which comes out next month, we're going to see Voiceless adapt to the current trend moving forward. They're going to be receiving this new card called Blessing of the Voiceless Voice. Blessing of the Voiceless Voice is basically a continuous spell that can recur voiceless cards from graveyard or banished, and it gives them the ability to ritual summon after a monster is summoned. This card is very, very important to the theme. This card is going to make this deck a lot stronger than it currently is at the moment. And the most important part is this card makes it tougher to contend against them with your Bystials. Meaning that if you're going to be using Bystials against this strategy, you need to be a little bit smarter than what you're used to. Otherwise, you're just going to end up falling into them properly using Blessing of the Voiceless Voice, and just them playing around your Bystials and pretty much keep contending with their strategy. So that's like a very small note there. Outside of that, Bystials are very strong against this strategy. If you have two options, basically either hitting low or hitting Saphira. And if you do everything right, then it shouldn't be not an issue for you. So for the next iteration on cards that you should be paying attention to and cards that are really effective with like sensitive to Bystials and Diddy Crow, we're going to be talking about Melodious. Melodious has been a fan favorite archetype that has been receiving support for years, but in Legacy of Destruction, they're getting a couple of new cards in their arsenal, and those cards are incredibly powerful. Those cards make this deck give them a lot more interruptions. It makes them play around hand traps a lot better, at least the more like conventional hand traps like Veiler, Imperm, Ash, Draw, just to name a couple of them. Like targeting protection, this theme can play around Nibiru, which is another really strong thing to say because this deck does not really put Omni Negates. However, it does put a lot of very annoying interruptions that just are tough to deal with. So, knowing that this strategy is very existent and very respected, Bystials and DD Crow are very, very strong against this strategy. So just catching them off guard and knowing what to hand trap will benefit you more than not in a potential format. Post Legacy of Destruction rather. Another theme that are going to be slated for new support is Lightsworn. The Lightsworn theme is going to be receiving a really cool new tuner monster, as well as a synchro, another fusion monster. They're going to be getting more cards that work with Judgment Dragon and like Punishment Dragon as well. And this deck is also really, really powerful. It's probably going to be the next mill strategy that we've seen as of late, next to Tear Lament. That being said, this deck can also be paired with Tear Lament. This deck can also be paired with zombies. This deck can also be paired with a few other graveyard strategies. You can play stuff like Destrudo in this deck. Fairytale Snow is not legal in the TCG. However, note that probably the more popular version of this deck is going to be paired up alongside Tear Elements, which is another strategy that is weak to the Bestial theme. One disclaimer that I'm going to be giving is the existence of Punishment Dragon. Punishment Dragon can reborn itself, or well, I mean, can special summon itself if you have enough Lightsworns banished. So be wary of that whenever you're using Bystials against Lightsworn. Otherwise, they can catch you off guard with the Punishment Dragon. Next, I want to talk about Yubel But more importantly, I want to talk about Nightmare Throne, and I also want to talk about the Phantom of Yubel. These two cards are super imperative to the theme. It makes the Yubel strategy a really, really strong contender. That Yubel strategy is already being like kicking off with the Phantom Nightmare support. However, the support from Legacy of Destruction with Nightmare Throne and the future support of Spirit of Phantom of Yubel, which we have no TCG confirmation as of yet, but it might come very soon, are two very strong key cards that just bolster the strategy. Uh, in order for you to summon Phantom of Yubel, you need to shuffle back into your deck a Yubel monster and a 0/0 Fiend, meaning that if you can cut them access from getting to the Phantom of Yubel very early, be it with your Bystials or your DD Crow, uh, before we move away from Legacy of Destruction format, I kind of want to talk about the Ashen theme. Ashen is a TCG exclusive archetype, and it does have dark monsters in the theme. And as of right now, at the time of this recording, there's only one card that interacts in the graveyard properly with them. However, if Konami decides to print new support for them and they're more graveyard reliant, that gives you the avenue of using Crow and Bystials in your arsenal to just contend against this archetype. It's very soon to tell, so until we have actual confirmation of what the new support can be, this is just a very small disclaimer to bring up, and it might be a future topic of another Yu-Gi-Oh! Alert video. That we should be wary of, or at least one of them, should be Sky Strikers. Sky Striker have been a fan favorite archetype for many years. Konami is printing more and more support for them, and they might even incentivize our next TCG limited and forbidden list to just help out this theme a lot more than it currently has. That being said, this deck has naturally been weak to Bystials in the past, basically just banishing Ray and cutting access from Ray to their Link monsters. But now there's a new reason for Bystials against this archetype, and that is Pillar of the Future Cianos. Pillar of the Future is a very strong card. This card gives you ability to just summon Rose out of the deck. It's always treated as the current format that we have to just favor this deck a lot more. Cianos has a graveyard effect to recur. Camellia has a graveyard effect to resummon herself in your opponent's side of the field, and you already know what Ray and Rose do. So they struggle against Bystials not only because you're eliminating half of their resources, but you're also summoning strong bodies on the board that can just deal with them with their link monsters or with their boss monsters as a whole. So that's something to keep in mind whenever you're facing against this theme in the future. Now we're moving into Infinite Forbidden format. which is their next main booster set right after Legacy of Destruction. Uh, it's already confirmed to be released on July 17th here in the TCG, which is very important because it's literally the same weekend as our North American WCQ. That being said, Drytron is a theme that is receiving more support, and I've already seen the Drytron deck in action. I've seen multiple Yugi-Tober play this deck and play against like full Snake Eye Fire King and Snake Eye like variants as a whole. And this deck can punch through most of their interactions. This is one of the very few decks strategies that can really try attempt to break your opponent's board with just their engine, and that is really really strong to think about. That is very very powerful. That is very very scary. uh so in the future you might want to be wary of Drytron and their existence. This deck has historically always been weak to Bystials, and if this archetype takes off again in the future, you might have to play. The next archetype that we're gonna talk about is a new archetype that's coming in Infinite Forbidden, and that archetype is called Fiendsmith. Fiendsmith is a one-card engine that can make a bunch of very strong plays with tutorage of light fiend monsters. The Fiendsmith himself is a one-card combo that can end on any rank 6 or a link 4, or like full combo of other fiend archetypes that can bridge into them, like Magical Musketeers, Fabled, Unchained, Labyrinth, Yubel. Like a lot of fiend strategies are really strong with this card, and the combo can be done like in multiple different ways. But just this card being a one card combo that can enable that strategy on its own is enough to just respect it. That being said, this strategy can be weak to Bystials if you just like snipe the Fiendsmith directly from the graveyard, or just like make sure that you just keep a bunch of light fiends out of rotation. Some of these The last theme I want to talk about, and one of the reasons I kind of wanted to make this video in the first place, is Gimmick Puppet. By the time of this recording, there have been multiple FTKs that have been discovered by this strategy, and those FTKs play through a lot of different cards. You have the Biscuit doll that can make it so your Gimmick Puppets cannot be targeted. You have the Terror Baby that can make sure that your Gimmick Puppets cannot be responded by your opponent's cards. And then you have the Mansion of the Underworld if people don't respect it enough. Not necessarily because it can FTK, but more so because this deck is really, really strong going second. Like, just these cards alone make it so your opponent has to think twice on how to interact with all these cards. So, just having an FTK deck be really, really strong going second. It also does not lose to the Gimme Puppet lock, so Branded is no longer effective against them. Ironically, just making sure that you can stop this strategy in somehow, shape, or form. It's very, very imperative next format. If you're not maining Bystials or not siding them, you will lose to this deck. Like, I can guarantee it. This deck is no joke. But yeah, that has been my first iteration of Yu-Gi-Oh! Alert. I hope you found this video informative and to your liking, your understanding. More videos coming soon. Keep practicing and keep dueling.